Hey everybody, Dr. Grant here, and today in this live workshop that I'll be putting together today is we're going to be covering over the best way to actually increase motivation naturally with your ADHD. So if you've been struggling with motivation, let me know in the chat. Let me know what you've been struggling, how long you've been struggling with that, and then also in the chat I will provide the workbook that goes along, so you can download these slides, so you get access to those and utilize this and take notes as you see fit. So when it comes to taking the approach of increasing motivation with ADHD, the very first step that I always take with my patients is when they're coming to see me is I do have to do investigative work to see, okay, why are you having struggle with motivation? What are the things that are preventing from that happening? And usually it's a body chemistry imbalance that we usually have to check for. So one of the things that I do like to usually test first, and for a lot of people, is looking at specific micronutrients that can impact what helps make motivation happen. So the ingredients is what I talk about. The ingredients that help make things like dopamine and other things that help with energy, like especially mental energy, and also our motivation and drive. And so, like this patient, you can kind of see here. I know it's a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in there for you guys. As you can see right here, vitamin B3 is low, and vitamin B3 is a very critical one when it comes to motivation. But also things like vitamin B5, like this patient that was low here, even their vitamin B6 was on the lower end. And so when you see B vitamins that are deficient, that can be a big culprit to why your motivation is low. Also, vitamin D3 is a really big one, just like how this patient. And so when you're looking at things to implement and when you test it, you can see, okay, now we know a roadmap, especially when it comes to supplements. And I'll tell you guys, and I'll talk about this more towards the end. Supplements are just only the initial stepping stone of helping improving motivation naturally. There's other things that are required that I'll be talking about in this workshop. But just to kind of talk about like with the supplements, if you are having issues with B vitamins, it's good to incorporate some B vitamins, but the activated form of B vitamins. So I usually will make sure that we're using activated form of B vitamins. If there's low vitamin D3 levels, then we of course want to incorporate that. Uh, Vitamin K2, also I forgot to mention that here too, they were low in vitamin K2. And so when you incorporate all these things, then you'll start seeing improvements in motivation, drive, and focus because we actually have data on the very individual, just like this patient. Now, some other things to also look at and test for on specific micronutrients is things like zinc. Zinc's a big one that impacts motivation, as well as things like other things that can also impact your health, like calcium. Their levels were low. And then we start to supplement that because it's really important to make sure that even different minerals, not just amino acids, but minerals also play a role in helping improve motivation. I'll explain that more here in just a minute. So, other things to also look at is I just mentioned about amino acids. So, things like glutamine, very important when it comes to GABA. So, GABA helps manage like stress, anxiety, and stuff like that. And definitely that's probably impacting your motivation. Being motivated and driven throughout the day is when you're very stressed, it's very hard to be motivated and driven throughout the day. So, we definitely want to make sure that we supplement that, just like how this patient was when we actually test and investigate. Also, CoQ10. CoQ10 can really impact energy. And energy and motivation, they're really two of the same thing, in my opinion. When there's low energy, it's really hard to have any motivation and drive. So when we see CoQ10 levels deplete, and usually this happens when you're 40 and above, we start seeing CoQ10 levels starting to decrease, just like this patient. When we start supplementing that, we start seeing not only physical energy, but also mental energy improve. So therefore, we also start seeing motivation starting to improve with people's ADHD. Okay. So some other things also is omegas. So sometimes we want to test omegas if that's usually a case, just like this person, their EPA levels were low. Supplementing that, utilizing some, incorporating omega-3s can help with protecting the brain, but also can improve with motivation if it is deficient. If it's not deficient, you're not going to see any differences in improvements. Some people just randomly will just take omega-3s. Like they're great. They're great antioxidant. I'm not saying it's like you shouldn't take it, but like don't expect big results if you're not deficient in it. If you've been deficient in it for a long period of time, just like this person was, then yeah, you will start seeing some noticeable changes. But you got to do some investigative work to even know if that is the case for you. Okay. Another really big, so changing gears here when it comes to motivation, I already talked about this, is energy and motivation are two really big issues that we do see as far as when it comes to being driven and motivated throughout the day. So if energy is depleted, just like this person, so cortisol has everything to do with energy and stress. When it's depleted like that, so is your motivation and drive. It's just depleted. And so when we have to address this, we usually need to support the adrenals that actually output cortisol. So cortisol is a hormone that needs to have a consistent output that we're more in the green zone, and it's something the adrenals start to produce. So in order to do that, we need to use things like adrenal support or adrenal desiccated, something that has adrenal bovine or something in it. And usually I like to use that first thing in the morning, midday, to help improve those levels. Now, if you're not wanting to write this down, if you're just joining on, you can actually download the workbook that goes along with this. You can get access to all the slides and all the supplement lists and stuff like that. Again, that's in the chat or in the description if you need that. Okay. So once we incorporate that, then we can start seeing improvement, not only in physical and mental energy, but also your motivation and drive starts to improve. And that's only if we do see some dips of low of your cortisol. If your cortisol levels are fine, you're not going to see that there's any we'll make any changes by incorporating these particular supplements. This making sense so far? Let me know in the chat if you have any questions about this as well. Next thing is looking at, especially, motivation can be impacted by mood swings, being confused. Who has experienced that? Like where you feel having a lot more mood swings, more depressed, and this actually impacts your motivation. Let me know in the chat because that's very common. And typically, when this is happening, it's because there's other hormones that are being an issue, that are out of balance. Just like this patient, their progesterone levels were low. Also, their DHEA levels were low, which is a precursor to helping with things like testosterone and estradiol and stuff like that. So when that's depleted, that certainly can impact motivation, drive, and your mood. And so when we see that, it's important to incorporate something that can help progesterone, like adding some natural progesterone cream or adding DHEA to supplement that. That's going to be really important when it comes to balancing out hormones. Because when we can balance out the hormones, then guess what? We start seeing improvements with motivation and mood and things like that, just like this patient. Now, another really big one, and maybe you guys have already heard me talk about this, but like if you're new to this channel, maybe you've never heard about this, is actually you could test neurotransmitters, okay, throughout the entire body. These aren't very specific to the brain. They're actually testing it throughout the body. In fact, 90 to 95% of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. So I don't see this too often where I see a patient, but I wanted to share this example where they're low in every category, pretty much almost every category. They're low in phenylethylamine, an excitatory neurotransmitter. Tyrosine is low. Dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, glutamate, GABA, glycine, histamine, all of it's low. Really bad situation to be in. And this person was a complete mess. Depressed, low mood, no energy physically or mentally, stressed as well. Like he was all over the place. And he couldn't function. So when I saw this, it made a whole lot of sense. And it's like, well, no duh. You have no capacity of any of your neurotransmitter levels. They're all depleted. And even the amino acids that help make those things. And so when we see this, you usually have to incorporate quite a bit, especially at the beginning of a lot of different supplements. And so things like Dopa Boost, you guys probably have heard me talk about this. This thing has like mecanoparines and L-tyrosine in it, has phenylethylamine in it, adding D-L-phenylalanine, which helps support this whole process as well, adding L-theanine, 5-HTP, that helps support serotonin. So that's really important to incorporate. Same with L-tryptophan, helps support serotonin. L-histidine, which helps with the histamine, which helps build and modulate neurotransmitters. Glycine and glutamate, because those are low, that helps with GABA. So GABA, because those levels are low. And sometimes I'll supplement even GABA, right? So all these areas, even L-theanine helps with norepinephrine, epinephrine, dopamine. So each area is covered in this basis. And when we incorporate this, there's a night and day difference because he was so depleted on every one of these categories. And when you see that and you know exactly what to target, this is where you can see improvements pretty quickly. Within like pretty much like 2 or 3 weeks of him implementing this protocol, he was able to have his mood back, his energy. He was able to be more vibrant, better at work, and within his relationship. So I want to kind of bring this all together because I get this is a lot of information. And then I want to tell you what are some of the other additional things is required than just supplements when it comes to increasing your motivation naturally with your ADHD. So when we're talking about neurotransmitters, just like this patient that we just went over, right? We have dopamine here, serotonin here, GABA. You have three main big neurotransmitter pathways that have to be addressed. But it's all these steps in between that typically have to be addressed even more so. So you saw that they were depleted in all those areas. But no one seems to ever really talk or really address the things that help make these different neurotransmitters. And so, what do they do? Typically, they're usually just using a stimulant to stimulate dopamine, GABA, or serotonin. So, if we're just stimulating this and you're constantly being depleted, you're not replenishing. So, that's why you got to replenish. Just like this patient right here, when we replenished, we started to see a better outcome because he was on medications, a lot of different medications. And why was he not getting the results? It's because he was only getting stimulating for more output of these different neurotransmitters of GABA, dopamine, serotonin. But when we start to actually target the things that help make these different neurotransmitters, he had consistent energy, focus, motivation, better mood because it was consistently being replenished. Now, this goes into my next step. I told you guys before, supplements are just the initial stepping stone. It's to get things going, but it's not the long-term solution. So I kind of want to break this down. So you have here, obviously you got to do some testing, right? You got to see what is off. Then you can incorporate supplements, but not just supplements. Like I said, that's a stepping stone. It's going to be required very targeted nutrition that is based off of the testing. That needs to be your medicine. Food needs to be your medicine and lifestyle. And once you get really good at incorporating that and filling all the gaps, we start seeing improvements, but that's not where it stops. Once we've done that, then it's time to like cleanse and detox. Because now your body is ready to get rid of all the toxicity that's built up. Because you don't want to have constant flare-ups of being unmotivated or brain fog or lack of drive or energy. This is really required to flush that out of the system so that you have consistent, long-lasting results. Then when we do that, guess what? We retest and see, okay, what improvements do we see? How else do we need to optimize it? That's how I get people results. Everybody needs very specific labs to see what for you is out of balance and structure a way that it can be not only getting rid of symptoms, but it can be impactful lifelong. And that's how I'm able to get great results with people. That's how I did it for my own ADHD and able to manage it without supplements, guys. I don't take pills. I don't take medications. I rarely take supplements anymore. I'll only do it when I do testing. Like I'll test a new supplement when I do those 30-day challenge ones, but I don't have to do supplement stacks. Why? It's because I focus on the foods and lifestyle. I just came off a cleanse just a week ago. I'm actually just finishing off kind of like still this week, and it's been phenomenal. Like my clarity of mind, peace, focus has even improved even more. Even though it was already good, but anytime I do a cleanse, it just improves it even more. But this is really what's required. And so if like you would like to find out this information for yourself or like what is your motivation and focus issues and would like my help with that, because it does really require further investigation, doing lab work. You can click on the link in the description below to book your first appointment with me. This is the ADHD focused diagnostic assessment. It's 45 minutes with me. I dive deep into your medical history. We look at, okay, what are the things that are causing these issues and what kind of lab work do we need to do? So I put together a game plan of what we're going to implement to help you support you. So if you'd like my help on that, again, you just click on the link in the description below. Thank you guys for attending for this live workshop, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye.